This video is brought to you by HelloFresh. HelloFresh's goal is to build food solutions with the least possible impact on the environment. Use the link in the description below to get yourself 21 free meals plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh. All right, what's going on, everybody? It's your boys back again once again with another episode of Power Rangers Academia. Yes. We are here, we are now, and we're kind of live because, you know, we do this and record whatever, but we're here for another episode to get you guys going and get the Power Ranger juices flowing. We talked a little bit, we've been briefly mentioning the comics here and there, right? And so finally, I am proud to announce here on the Power Rangers Academia channel that I have finally caught up to issue 100 of the freaking comics, right? And it was a long time coming. I've been telling these guys, like, I'm gonna catch up, I need to catch up. And there's still some issues after 100, right? There's like, what is it, like 104?
104 is the latest.
Yeah, 104 is the latest issue. So I've read up to issue 101. So currently I'm on 102. And this path to power, right? That I've had to, you know, read up on to catch up. I had to read through basically between the Mighty Morphin and the Go-Go line respectively. And I left off at like issue 17 of each. So then I had to read those. Then I had to read The Path to Ruin, in addition to the Dark Ranger, Power Rangers Ultimate, or not Ultimate, Unlimited issue. And then I even I said, now that I remember, I need to read the Power Rangers Universe stuff. Because I was like, this all plays, you know, a part in all of that. So, needless to say, the Power Rangers Universe issues, it was just a 6-part mini special, whatever. Those were more of a letdown than anything else. And I mean, it's a shame. It is what it is. However, the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because, like, you know, this is supposed to be like the Morphin Master origin story. Yeah. And at the same time, more origin to the Phantom Ranger, which I'm not even gonna get into because I really just want to talk about the meat and bones of issue 100. Okay, yeah. That's the good shit right now. Okay, if you want to check out Universe, please go ahead and check out Universe. I've been an avid supporter of the Boom Studios Power Ranger comics since they started. Okay, I just want to put that out there. Okay, they've released nothing but straight fire since issue number 0. Okay, not even number 1, 0. Because I got that shit too when it came out. Okay, now I know I just mentioned Universe because that was like kind of like the first fumbling that they've had out of this whole like 7-year run that they've had. Because that shit started in 2016, all right, when they first came out with the Power Ranger issues.
How did you feel about Beyond the Grid? Because I know a lot of people in the fandom are mixed on Beyond the Grid as well.
Oh, you know what? I enjoyed it for what it was because it was like a nice little break from, you know, everything that was happening with Shatter Grid and all that kind of stuff and the lead up into that. And it was really dope to see like that unique team that, you know, they all never, you know, obviously they never all like teamed up before. We got the Solar Ranger and everything like that. So like, it was just some great comic book like magic that was happened. Then it was only like short, it was like 10 issues or something.
Yeah, it was like 6, or it was a short like mini series basically to transition into the next arc.
Yeah, and I thought that was super good, I didn't consider it a low point for me at all. I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed, you know, how they like kind of like went from there. Like it was like a nice little bridge to really like, you know, go right into like the next portion of the story, which like introduced Tommy as the White Ranger, and then, you know, Adam was in there, and Aisha was in there, Rocky, everyone's fucking favorite Red Ranger, was in there, right? And it was really cool. Like I liked it, and you know, it set up, you know, the following stories that came after that, you know, with Matt. You know, for those that don't know, like the Green Ranger still is in play. And it's gotten all the way up to the point where now, you know, with this issue, this big issue 100, and they made a big deal out of it because out of all the Boom Studios comics that are currently going on, or that have already, like, you know, gone on and ended, there's been no series that has hit 100 issues, and that is a huge milestone for them.
Good point. Good point.
You know, and that's amazing in and of itself, because, like, I've said it several times here, especially talking to you guys, whether it's on these videos or not. I truly believe that if we got the stories and the content that came from these comics back when they was on TV, I have no shadow of a doubt that Power Rangers as a franchise would be like rivaling Marvel. Like, not even gonna cap. Okay, like, I have full 100% faith that the stories that are coming out of these comics right now, if they existed back then, dude, Power Rangers would be way bigger than it is now. In my opinion, I really do believe that. And that goes to show you the great writing that goes behind these issues. It's not just one person, it's multiple, okay? Obviously, I have my favorite. Shout out to Ryan Parrott, shout out to Kyle Higgins, you know what I'm saying, right? Though, like, everybody that has graced the Power Ranger line in these comics, they've added more than we could have ever expected. Like I say, obviously, with Universe was the first little fumbling that they had, but, like, you know, overall, I mean, that's one little bump in the road out of this entire journey that we've had. And what kind of a journey has it been? Issue 100 is something that I personally really wasn't ready for. I really was. I was not expecting what was gonna happen. And, you know, this is another great, you know, testament and I guess another nod to the writers, because these writers are fans, you know, to a higher degree than people that working at fucking Hasbro. And you could tell, okay? The quality control here is actually very high, okay? Because they pay attention to a lot of the detail, and there's a lot of callbacks and throwbacks and just a lot of greatness that we get to appreciate through these pages, right? And
freedom. I think the other thing too is freedom too, because, like, they're able to play with the toys that have already been established in the Power Rangers universe and not just be beholden to what was at the time. Like, they can go into, you know, and touch on certain characters that never existed, or create brand new things and still make it tie into what we already know. And it makes it, but they make it work, because, you know, I feel like who was it, Daphne Plevin? She's like the woman who kind of is the liaison between, like, the comics and like the Power Rangers, like, lore and knowledge and stuff like that. She basically was, like, putting all that stuff together and making sure, like, everything was accurate, everything was right. Like, this can happen, these things can't happen, but everything else is fair game. Like, and that kind of stuff helps all those stories, like, come together, you know?
I love that. I'm not gonna lie. And so, yeah, the one thing that I wanted to bring up that plays into this issue 100 was that they took the stealth mode that Andros we only saw as a toy. Okay, this was one of the things that Hasbro did right when they surprised us with that figure, because they took the cloaked Andros from episode 1 of Space, and then they added a not just a twist, but they added a whole line of fire to that outfit, and they basically gave him a whole nother suit that he never really had, right? And they used it in the story leading into issue 100, and honestly, it was beautifully done. It was perfect. Why? Because it's like, well, everyone else has their colors. Everyone is it's like, you're gonna have another red right there on the spot. Well, it's not like we weren't gonna see him as the Red Space Ranger, and when we did, that was amazing. And what played into issue 100, a part of the story that takes place is, for those that maybe don't even know, is that Andros is a part of this story because he's still on his quest to finding his sister, and he's trying to essentially you know, avenge his fallen KO-35 folks and whatnot. And he seeks out the help of the Omega Rangers because Jason let out like one of those messages to the universe, like, you know, we are here and we are here to help whenever, like he pulled like a Goku, you know what I'm saying? He's like, I am the cry to all that, you know, that they need help and all that crap. So they have this, you know, this team up essentially where it's like, now think about this again. It hasn't happened since Forever Red, but this is the first time in this canon where Jason and Andros are on the same squad, right? And this was more character building for not just Jason, but for Andros, because we got to see Andros at like a more, like at an earlier state in his life when he was like not all there, you know, and just all these added elements was just so sick to see. And that played out because eventually what ends up happening is like, yes, he sought out for the Omega Ranger help, but really, what was he there for? He was there for the Omega Gold Ranger Morpher. Why? Because it had the thing that he wanted the most. He heard off of the legend that he had the power to bring back people from the dead. And what was he trying to do? Trying to bring back his people, trying to bring back Zane, all that stuff. And shit gets crazy because then it gets messy. And what happens when you got mess? You gotta clean that shit up. You know what I'm saying? So they of course bring in the rest of the team, right? From Earth. Tommy's involved, Matt's involved. You know, Zordon is telling them, like, giving the like, you know, the speech and like the good praise, like, yeah, go ahead, like, help this man.
Grace,
right? The good
Grace had to.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, Grace had to get involved, like her and her team, because like it got dire, you know.
Right. Yeah. So like, you know, then we have this like epic battle because what ends up happening is like the Omega Rangers get overtaken by this evil, the dude's name is like Spark, right? He's like the original Gold Ranger, Gold Omega Ranger, but obviously dubbed as the Death Ranger because back in his origin, he essentially explored how to basically use the morphing grid energy to bring people back from the dead. So we had zombies and Power Rangers through this, right? And so now they're fighting all these KO-35 zombies, and Zane got taken over. Trini got, Zach, Yale, they all got, the whole Omega Ranger squad plus Zane got taken over. So you have literally a Power Ranger versus Power Ranger situation. And it gets crazy because it took Andros to help Jason snap out of it by literally severing his connection to the Omega Red Ranger powers by morphing while he had him in a fucking like chokehold. He literally said 335, let's rock it. And that depiction and the art that was involved with that scene was insane. And meanwhile, the other Rangers are over here fighting the Ultra Omega Zord that combined all 5 of the pieces, because we up to this point we only saw 4 of them. Well, now that the Omega Gold Ranger was out in play, they of course had this bigger, you know, with wings and shit, of course. And JD, let me tell you, this entire run, I was like, you know what? I wonder if they're gonna combine the Dragon Zord with the Thunder fucking Megazord, because they already gave me the White Dragon Zord, Tiger freaking they combined them two, right, for Tommy and Matt to work together. So I'm just like, are they gonna do it here? Are they gonna give me another Zord that I'm sure a lot of us wondered if they would ever do as kids, and unfortunately never happened. But guess what? Boom Studios is always on their shit, and they know what we want to see. So, and it was great because this was more dialogue and more moments for Rocky. See, because this is where if you're a fan of Rocky, you really need to read your character in the comics, okay? Because this is the best version of Rocky you're ever going to see. Let me just tell you that right there, okay? That is a fact. And so, and I do like the dynamic between him and Matt, because like Matt being like, you know, new to the team essentially. Rocky, I mean, he's been on the team for, you know, probably like a few more days ahead of it. But like they both kind of like have that like newbie type, but and they're trying to help each other out, whatever. And Rocky's like coming to his own, which is really nice to see. And then Matt has this like idea, and then Rocky's like, oh yeah, I'm way ahead of you. And they fucking combine the swords. And I was like, fucking go. That shit looked sick.
Fire.
It looked amazing. It looked so sick. So they do this new Zord. Of course, they defeat the freaking thing. And at the same time, Jason has this whole like they're looking through all his moments through the morphing grid that happened, because at the same time Jason was struggling with just like trying to figure out like where does he go in life. His mom just died. His dad was leaving. He's over here trying to freaking save all these worlds and universe at the same time. But then he realized like, yo, there's Power Rangers out there, you know, and obviously Trini and Zach are there. Tommy's watching over Earth. Like they got help is the whole point. And he's just like trying to discover himself. And this was literally probably, and I didn't see this. I was literally like, yo, like, are they writing him out? And they wrote it so nicely. They literally was like, no, you're taking a break, but we got this. And guess what we get out of that now? Trini is the Red Omega fucking Ranger.
It's so appropriate, because like if you're reading those art like issues, like Trini more than proves herself. Like Trini is one of the best, like, I guess I don't want to say retconned, but like the comic version of Trini was one of the early standouts.
Yes.
From like, this is a much deeper, better version of the character than in the show.
100%.
And they just continue that. And she's just consistently been an amazingly written character. And, you know, thank God, because like, you know, obviously like with Twee's passing, it's like we didn't really get to see that character manifest, and we're finally going to see that a little bit soon. But like to see how it ends up here is just like dope, and it's really like a full circle moment for that character.
Yeah, and that's like what was so sick, because at that moment in time, like when I was reading this, and I was like, holy shit, like this is the part where, like, you know, I'm sure they're gonna go back to, you know, Earth and have, you know, the main cast of Power Rangers, like with Tommy, Kimberly, Billy, Aisha, Adam, and Rocky, and now Matt, right? Because like they still rocking with the 7-man squad as the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, with both White and Green Ranger, which I think is fire, right? I think that is so sick, right? And meanwhile, Zach and Trini are still doing their Omega Ranger thing, like away from them. And like this is giving, like, you know, Jason that, like, you know, like that breathing time. Like he's not gonna be involved for now, because obviously as fans we know when the next time he does come back into play. And I hope that whenever they do finally get to that point, because I thought a few years ago that they were going to be approaching this Zeo power transfer soon, right? But the reality is, and I guess, you know, I took Ryan Parrott's words very lightly when I heard him say this, because he was on a stream once and they were taking questions from chat, and he actually answered one of my questions when I asked, like, so like how are we getting closer to like the Zeo portion of these? Like when are we gonna see this, like the, like, you know, the suit transfer and all that, power transfer and all that? And he's like, you know, that's a great question, but to be honest with you, there's still so much more to explore. And I did not think that we would be here now, issue 100, and he's absolutely right. There's still so much to explore. And the fact, and I totally forget about this, because obviously issue 100 ends, issue 101 starts, and guess who they're setting back up again? Fucking the Empress herself, Rita, back again, once again.
And she's OD.
And she looks like better than ever.
Crazy.
She looks like she got stronger than before. Zeo Rita.
Just wait until you keep reading, yo, because like the stuff that's about that comes up, it gets even crazier.
Isaac, let me just tell you this.
Yep.
This man, yo, the reason why they went to the moon They got a distress signal. Let me repeat that. The Power Rangers, got a distress signal from the moon. Who's on the moon? Zed, Goldar, all the fucking Babu, Squat, Finster, right? No Rita, because Rita, got earlier in earlier arcs, right? So they go, of course, they're Power Rangers. Even if it's Zed, they gotta answer the stress call. Goldar's over here running away from these like OD, like worse putties. Putties keep getting upgrades, right? They keep fucking getting upgrades. And Goldar, Power Rangers help, right? So then they're like, what the fuck is going on? So they go into the palace. Bro, tell me why Lord Zed, think about this. Lord Zed, the big tyrant, the guy out here with the staff, came back in fucking Dino Fury now, jacked up. Zed, he's on the floor and he said, help me.
Ooh.
And you go, guess who's over him? Rita.
Yo, I can't wait till you catch up.
After we're done recording, I'm gonna read the next freaking few issues that I got left.
Yo, the way Uchi was talking about everything, this dude just finished his reading session.
It's so good, yo. And like, I'm glad you're caught up. I'm glad you're on the same page. And one of the things that that made that whole issue 100 and the whole build up to issue 100 so fire because Power Rangers and Mighty Morphin split up. Right.
Yes.
So you have the Mighty Morphin, which follows like the Mighty Morphin team.
Yep.
And then Power Rangers was following the Omegas.
Yep.
But the cool thing about it is that even though they were written by like different people, like the stories were crossing over a lot, and they kind of led to what issue 100 is. But it's like in Mighty Morphin, like they relay the information to Jason, who's in Power Rangers, that his mom passed away. So one of the main like things about him is like about this arc was like Jason's dealing with loss and responsibility and his place in life. Whereas like Andros, when they meet him in Power Rangers, Jason is this person who's suffering loss. He meets this other person who's also suffering loss.
Yes.
But just takes it way too far, goes the wrong direction with it, and it becomes this whole storyline about dealing with death and coping with the loss of loved ones. Right? And the way that they handling that kind of topic in Power Rangers is just OD in general. But the thing that made issue 100 so fire is because Jason's like resolve and the way his character is like developed and comes full circle in that issue is crazy. And because I like when I'm reading it, like I was always anticipating like we're getting around to the point where it felt like Jason was gonna have to leave the Omegas at some point, and like because he was talking about being tired. Like we even had some crossover with Kimberly because she's been talking about the same thing.
Yes.
Like she's been going through this whole thing where it's like, do the Power Rangers need me? Will they be okay without me? We're seeing people who leave the team like kind of wondering like, do I want to stay? Do I want to go?
Yo, Billy did this. I'm so glad you brought this up because Billy did the same thing. They're literally planting the seeds already with all of this. And Billy's like, well, I think it was someone called him out on it. They were like, Billy, like, why aren't you acting like you want to even be a Power Ranger? And he's like, well, I don't need to be. He was like, I can support you guys and like do all this stuff and like still be helpful, but it's like we're clear, like I'm not, everybody knows I was never really cut out for this, and like he was content, like he's already showing that content of being like the guy that helps them the guy in the chair, bro. Like they're setting all that shit up right now. I'm telling you, if all this shit existed when we were like young kids, Power Rangers would be on par with Marvel stuff, bro. MCU would probably have Power Rangers in there already. In the films.
Like it's fucking nuts. And then like but again, like going to the end of the issue where you finally see him leave. Because, well, like I was getting to say, like, I thought he was going to leave when he found out his mom died, but he decided to stay, which was weighing on him. But the way that they executed it was still amazing.
Yes.
Because he came to that same realization just through his parallel adventure with Andros and stuff like that.
Right.
And when he left the team, I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is lining up exactly how everything's supposed to go. And Trini became red and I was hyped. And everything on Earth was fire. But like, when you see how, like, I don't want to say much more, but just like, when you keep reading, just like I really feel like they're doing a good job, like capitalizing on the stage that they set with everything, with all the characters. And it's just interesting because, like, there was a period where I was like, okay, when are we getting to Ninjetti? You know, like, I was thinking, are they going to do a time skip and do Ninjetti? But like, at this point, the comics feel so distinct from the show, right? To the point where I'm like, currently at least, I'm not asking that question as much.
Yo,
because like
it's
still like, it still can happen. It's always like they can pull out, you know, that like, you know, cheat code whenever they want to, but they don't need to.
They don't.
And you know, the crazy part is, part of me feels like whenever they do it in the comics, Ooze is gonna come back. But
stop.
I think they're gonna tie Ooze into the comics canon. But that's my crackpot theory, because there could still be rights issues with Ooze to the point where they can't do that. But something tells me that would be something that they would want to do.
Oh my god!
But that's neither here or there. Like, that's thinking way too far in the future.
Way too far.
But like, yeah,
they got plenty to do.
We still got a lot of mileage. But either way, it's like, that issue 100 was a special issue where it's like, you read that and it's like, as a Power Ranger fan who's like, when you know, if you read or if you've watched Power Rangers and you like, you know where things go, and then you read issue 100, it feels like it's complementing the future of Power Rangers from here, because of the stuff, how it handles the space stuff, but it also is dealing with the past and stuff you're familiar with, and it's still lining up with the canon, but it's different. It's like, it's doing all these different things, but it did it in a way where you're like, I don't know how they pulled this off.
And that's why it is so fucking perfect. That's why it's so good. Like, literally, like, I have been an advocate for these comics ever since it started. In Battle for the Grid community, I always sold people on the comics. Always. I was like, this is why you need to read the comics.
Battle for the Grid was the like, that was the source of the comic. Yeah, like,
the story was based on Shattered Grid.
The comics were basically the basis of, I would say, like, the adult Power Rangers fandom is very well, like, based in legacy that the comics started, I think. Because the comics really have started to grow the universe in the way that we always imagined it would. Because, again, like, going back to Power Rangers in Space. Yeah. Power Rangers in Space set these stages for having these villains who interact and having these planets, having these areas where like, other people exist, that where things are happening that we're not completely aware of. And these comics are finally able to flesh all that out. But now we have the knowledge of even more than what was available when Power Rangers in Space came out, because we have SPD, we have basically every other season that's happened since then that could somehow factor into Lost Galaxy stuff, like, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say.
They have,
where it's like,
yeah, finish.
No.
I was gonna say they've had moments where they will even, like, insert little reminders of, like, hey, like, we're aware of all these other seasons, like, and all these other things that happen, whether they like, and they're aware of the importance of certain things. Like, for example, like, within, it wasn't issue 100, it was like leading into 100. And this was like going back to when you brought up, like, how, like, Kimberly was, like, having that like conflict with
self-doubt.
Yeah, like self-doubt and everything, like, am I even needed anymore? Like, you know, everyone's, like, pretty good still. And they managed to do so much with this one issue. Not even one issue, because it was like an issue that worked itself into the following one. But they were doing a training regimen, and because she was so nervous about just being like left in the dust and like not being like, you know, as important, not being known as the Power Ranger, just a Power Ranger, like she had Billy look into like if they could get like a power up, and he found like a script that Zordon and Alpha were working on, but they deemed pointless, essentially. And guess what that was? The fucking metallic. And dude, I didn't get excited for Metals when I was a kid. This is the first time I got excited as Metals right now, because they literally used it when it was so appropriate, and they only used it for that moment. It was like they were doing the training regimen, and then the training thing got fucked up. They got trapped in a pocket dimension, and then the fucking dimension turned into them having to fight against Rancic, against like Trakina, against Sledge, like all these villains across all these random Power Ranger seasons. And she had to find it within herself to like understand that she's always going to be like the Power Ranger, because all of them are the Power Rangers, and that's like the bigger takeaway. And of course, somehow she called upon the power of all the fucking future Pink Rangers.
The pink energy.
That
Remember
shit.
They said too much pink energy is dangerous. That's why.
That was OD as fuck.
You know what was super crazy to me about that part too? How both Kendricks and Corone were there.
They had both. Yes, that was
Galactic.
sick.
That was fire. I was just like, that's just like a nice little detail.
That was, dude, that's respect.
You know, obviously, guys, like we mentioned, well, we were talking right before we started this, right? I know what's going on in the comics. I did not read the comics. You know, I'm one of those people that, at least in terms of the comics, you know, I don't have to read it. I know what happens. Okay, good. You did the reading for me, you know? So while you guys were talking and stuff, you know, I'm literally just, you know, looking up these moments or you know, things that happen in the comics. And one thing that really sticks out to me is like, yo, Boom Studios really goes hard with this, with these illustrations. Like it's nuts how incredible this stuff is right now. Like, why aren't more people talking about this stuff? Like this stuff looks better than some of the official stuff that comes out from even like years ago.
It is better.
I know the IP has moved from like, you know, one company to the other, but I mean, Boom is doing this justice. Like, this is like, there's so many like pages that I want as like posters. Like, dude, it's ridiculous.
They need to hire Dan Mora to just be permanently like their artist, and that's
this is OD. Like
Dan Mora, Marco Renna, like there's so many artists.
Data, you were talking about a tattoo. Dog, it needs to look like this.
It's a good idea, honestly.
Yo, it need to look like this. Like this right here is some of like the best like illustration work I've ever seen.
Like that one that you put in the chat earlier, where the one with like Jason, where he's going from like his regular form to Mighty Morphin Red to
when he punched him.
Yeah, when he punched him to Omega Red.
That was
like
sick.
That frame, like I forgot which artist did that part, because like they had like basically every artist that had worked on Power Rangers, or maybe not every artist, but they had a bunch of like returning artists come back to do frames.
They did a couple pages for certain moments.
But that one was so clean.
Yeah,
I was like, yo, this is OD, man. Like, I can't believe this.
Boom Studios is OD. I love them. And I'm not saying that because they just recently followed me on Twitter. I promise, okay? But like, I've been saying I love them for what they've done with Power Rangers. Like we spoke about our gripes with the Lightning Collection quality control like debacle, and just how Hasbro's been mistreating the entirety of the Power Rangers name overall. Boom Studios is literally the saving grace of this entire franchise. Like no one else out there that owns any sort of property rights to like produce whatever it is that they're trying to make, whether it's like a game or whatever. Like Boom Studios literally has been the only company that has given Power Rangers the utmost respect, integrity, and just like all the love and passion, and you can feel it. You can tell when someone is working on something that they really care about. And like, I can go, just like we were talking about in space, I could go on all day about talking about the comics, and I cannot wait. I'm just a few more issues away from being caught up, and then we're gonna have to, like, I don't know, like every issue that comes out now, I'm gonna have to be like, yo, we gotta talk about this, just just to stay caught up with what's happening in the freaking series, because like,
and this is the right storyline to do it. So.
Oh yeah.
I'm down.
So yeah, there's more. We'll talk more about that in a future video.
But I just want to throw that out there. I know I didn't really do too much talking this segment, but yeah, I ain't caught with the comics, guys. Read the comics. Play Battle for the Grid too. If you guys don't feel like reading comics or understand, it's like, yo, I guarantee you, after you play the story mode in Battle for the Grid, you're gonna want to learn more about the comics. And I'll tell you this right now, Shattered Grid, obviously my favorite. Like, there's so many other good ones. Like, this is just scratching the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So all the Omega Ranger stuff that Uchi was talking about, I already knew. I didn't know as much because I only, basically read the what stands out. I don't read every single piece of dialogue between the Rangers themselves. But just based on what Uchi said, I'm like, yo, like, I'm okay with going back and actually starting to read. I have all the issues, guys. Digital, not physical, but I have them all. I just haven't got around to reading them, but I'm okay. Even though I know what happens, I have to read them. I have no choice.
It's still gonna hit.
Yeah, it's still gonna hit, and they're all entertaining too. You talk about number 100. Listen, I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what anybody says. They're all. Even though I did not read every single one, because of I know everything that happens, they're all significant.
They really are.
You're not gonna be missing out. And when I was reading them, I was like reading like 10 at a time without realizing, like, yo, I can't believe I just read this many in like one sit down. It's so good. There's everything you expect from your TV show and a movie. You have your cliffhangers, you have your climaxes, you have your character development. Like, you have it all in these comics.
The fan service, yeah.
And Hands. If you're a fan of Hands,
hey.
Yo, read the comics.
That's gonna be it for this video of Power Rangers Academia. Hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like, comment, and make sure you are subscribing. Thanks for all the support. And let us know any future episodes or any other videos that you want us to hear our thoughts on. Of course, in the future, it's been your boy Uch, got the homie JD, and the man Mega Isaac himself. And we'll see y'all next time.